What is going on, people of the internet? Welcome back to the PMM channel. Today we got a quick overview on a family of products, all of our PMM optic mounts. So to start things off, we're going to start where we started, the red rum. This is a carbine optic mount for the micro footprint. Talking aim point, hollow sun, SIG, anything that has that footprint will work on this. Product got its start just needing something that was like a night vision height mount-esque thing. We called it the red rum because of 187. So the 187 height kind of was that perfect middle ground for us. We saw stuff trending to going really high up. We wanted something that gave you a good cheek weld and a good mount like the 154s out there do, but gave you a little bit more height. And actually there's a couple optics out there that will bump it up to a 193 if that's something you're more familiar with. So taking a deeper dive into the red rum mount, you're looking at 1.8 ounces in weight with the hardware. Obviously it's without the optic. So it's pretty lightweight. They're very strong. It's a very minimalist design. We do use 2 cross bolts as well as a milled in lug. So it's a super solid mount on the actual rifle itself. Also, as a note on any of our micro mounts, we get a lot of comments about having a little bit of an air gap from the flats on the optic to the mount itself. That's actually intentional. There is a tapered or an angled interface that's actually supposed to meet up on the optic, so you're not relying on just the lug. So it's not actually meant to touch. So if you see a little bit of air gap, that's totally normal. That's how it's intended to be. Now, as far as compatibility goes, we already talked about what optics would fit on this, but we know a lot of guys like to run a magnifier or have the option to do so. So with a standard red rum and a T2 or a hollow sun or whatever you want to put on there, it will work with the EOTech magnifiers with the riser that they include. It lines up perfectly. The math is a little bit different, but again, with how those work, you're not going to notice any sort of weird shifts, or you're not going to see the optic through the magnifier. They work perfectly with that. And then that kind of steps us into the next product that kind of goes with this, is the micro riser. So this is designed specifically to work with our red rum mount, and this will bump your optic up to about a 2.13 center line. So it's still close enough to work with things like a Unity flip to center. A couple of the guys here actually run that. So you do have a magnifier option no matter what you're running with this. Now, talking about the actual micro riser itself, you're looking at 19 grams worth of weight, including the hardware. Now, the hardware can change depending on what you're actually putting this on. But the thickness on this is going to be 0.26, so just over 1/4 of an inch. So keep that in mind if you're putting it on a different optic mount. So with that being said, this will work with just about any micro footprint out there. I put it on LaRue mounts. We've put them on SIG mounts, put them on aim point mounts. It's just going to depend on the mount itself. The thickness of the mount and how they use their hardware. A lot of the aim point stuff uses hardware from the bottom that's super long, or if you're putting it on, say, like a Badger top mount, their thickness is going to be a little different than ours, so you're going to have to find out what hardware works, but we do send it with hardware that works with our product. So while we're on the topic of the micro riser itself, what I have in front of me is a Reptilia mount with an EOTech 1-10 with our micro Cowgirl mount. Now on this optic itself, you don't need the riser. You can see the optic does clear the turret and you're able to use it, but there are certain guns, say like a Night Force Attacker or whatever, that has a taller exposed turret. That's also where this can come into play. It'll rise your optic up above that turret so you can still use it as your backup optic or your close range optic. The next step in the evolution of our optic mount family is going to be the Cowgirl. This is not a standalone product. This is meant to be used with Badger Ordnance mounts. They're our favorite optic mounts, whether it's for carbine or precision stuff. But we saw a little bit of a gap in the market with that. So Badger makes a really nice modular top mount for their dots, but they are very tall to work with tall turret optics. We wanted something that could be a little bit more sleek, a little bit faster paced stuff. So it's just meant to sit just over the turret on something like a 1 to 6, a 1 to 10, something with a cap turret. So this example here, this is a 30 mil. We offer 30 and 34 RMR footprint. This will fit your RMR, your SRO, any of the RMR footprint holosuns, as well as the newer stuff like the RCR and the RMR HD. The design of these are meant to go aesthetically with the Badger Ordnance mounts, so they kind of just look like they belong. And as you can see, they are a cantilever design, so they're meant to be getting your turrets centered in the mount and then having this pushed forward so you don't have any clearance issues or have to run your optic in kind of a weird spot in the actual mount itself. Another example here is we have a acro footprint. This will fit your acro, your Steiner MPS, as well as anything else that fits this footprint. This one specifically is actually a 35 millimeter mount, so meant to be used with some of the loophole options, and all of those are going to have a pretty tall turret. So you can see our 35 mil options are actually already bumped up, so you can clear that turret and have that perfect line of sight. And as I just showed when we were talking about the micro riser, we do also have a micro footprint Cowgirl for those of you that want to run a more rugged optic on top of the gun, something like a T2. Something else we wanted to touch on real quick is we actually get a lot of questions on what turrets that our optic mounts will clear. Specifically, we get a lot of stuff asking about the Nightforce Attacker product line, because even in their capped turret stuff, they're a little taller than, say, a Vortex. So this specifically is an Attacker 4 to 16 with an acro mount Cowgirl. This one specifically is a Steiner MPS. So just wanted to show this one because the window does sit a little bit lower than the turret. It's still completely usable, but the Steiner has the electronics on the top of the optic, moving the window lower, where something like the acro would be perfect. It lines up amazingly with the adjustable turret, and then as well as they'll both clear the cap turrets on something like a Attacker 1 to 8. And then one last thing to touch on with optic fitment, I just wanted to show off a 35 millimeter mount on a gun that actually has the optic. So this is a loophole. It's a Mark V 3.6 to 18. So this has the raised up version of the mount. So again, you can see this T2 perfectly clears the turret, and you're not going to have any sort of clearance issues with that or have an occluded picture. And then lastly, in our optic mount lineup, as far as a add-on goes, we have the perfect product for you guys that would otherwise have a full model train set in your basement, but you got into guns instead. This is a diving board mount meant to use with arms rings, specifically the Arms 22, so it's kind of like a Mark 12 setup clone. You can put whatever optic you want on there. You want to put a laser rangefinder or just a laser on there. That is a great option and something that has been discontinued by the original manufacturer. So guys, that's about everything that I have to talk about with these. We kind of covered all of the basis of what we offer for optic mounts. Everything's pretty lightweight. It's about as streamlined as it can get, and doesn't have all the hardware that a modular mount would need. So guys, if you learned anything, you enjoyed any of that, or if you just like talking product, go ahead, hit the like button. If you haven't already, subscribe. It'll really help us push more content out to you guys. We're starting to really enjoy this stuff, so any support that you can give us goes a long way. I'm Travis. This is Parker Mountain Machine. We'll catch you in the next one.